producer. My producer gave me the go ahead. Hey, everyone. So, welcome to our very second. I'll say it's technically the first live, but our second TWA Talks episode. And I am Latoya Mims here. And today we have a very special guest, Kristy Broderick, with us.
Hi.
One of my good friends, one of my good girlfriends now, mommy friends. I just say friends because I feel like if you put something in front of it, that means just in this setting, but we're friends all the time.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So we are here today to really, again, kick off TWA Talks, really start to bring awareness to the disability journey for parents out there who may be struggling in their own journeys. I think that having some real life people kind of come on and talk about their own experiences and things that we've gone through and, just awareness. I mean, bringing, educating people about what it really is like. It is so hard to receive a diagnosis and then know where you're going, especially when you don't know about it, anybody who's been down the road, and the things that we've encountered on our own. It's tremendous. It's phenomenal. It's heartbreaking. It's joyful. It's all of the things. And so, again, bringing that real life experience, the testimonials, really telling what it was like, what our walks have been like. And another aspect of disability is what people don't understand is it's like a spectrum.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, it's not the same for everybody and it looks different. You have complex medical conditions, which you'll probably talk a little bit about tonight. And then you have physical, you have cognitive, you have learning. There's just so many different disabilities that we could name, and the journey is going to look different for everybody. So for you people out there where you're struggling with, hey, do I ask for the diagnosis or am I noticing what I think I'm noticing? Or if you just started the journey, you need to know where to go. I think you're going to get some really good information tonight. So tonight's topic is heart health awareness. So as you know, hopefully you know that February is Heart Health Awareness Month, and then there's specifically a week, right?
Yes. So they say Heart Health Week is from the 7th to the 14th, so to Valentine's Day. So the kids don't always just learn about hearts at Thomas's school. The Valentine, I always teach them about our hearts and our bodies that I go and talk to the class about, and so that way they can learn a little too.
I love that. Let me tell you, I missed it this year. This was like, so we missed it because we were in intensive, which I know I haven't told y'all about Harper's intensive yet, but I will. I'm coming, I promise. But we missed it, and all the pictures I saw online, you read not only to the resource class. I think that's very important for us to highlight because when we're telling these stories, I don't need to tell them to the people who already get it.
Right.
I need to educate the people who are not close to it, who've not been impacted by it, but have a heart to know.
Yeah.
Especially children.
Yes.
Oh, they are the best.
They are. And they had a lot of questions and they were very funny. And I went to Jacob's class too. And I did it with Jacob, his younger brother's preschool class. And I've done it since Thomas, he's 7 now. I've done it since he started school. So since kindergarten.
And you know how important that is that you take it to his siblings because that's another aspect of disabilities that people truly forget about or don't probably realize is what I'll say. Because it's not forgotten by the people who are living the life, but the siblings are so profound in the journeys. And then they ultimately become advocates as well.
Well, and they're teachers.
Yeah.
And they don't even mean to be teachers. And I was a little, not to like get too off topic here, but because I know I can ramble. So I told Latoya to tell me if I ramble. But I was nervous about having them close together. They're a little over 18 months apart because Thomas was still dealing with medical stuff. I was like, how am I going to take care of this other baby? And I mean, just seeing him blow through some of those milestones to me was crazy. But he was learning to walk when Thomas was first starting to take steps.
Mm-hmm.
And so he would literally help push him in his walker
I love it.
to help him learn. And he's
Yeah.
been doing stuff like that ever since. And he's 5
See?
now. So
Yeah.
it makes a big deal to have, siblings, that's all they know
Mm-hmm.
for their
Mm-hmm.
brother. But
It
I think
is.
it's important to share it with others
Absolutely.
too.
And then they get to share. They
Right.
because it's all that they know,
Yeah.
it's like this built-in compassion that they automatically have. I just think siblings are so important to talk about.
Mhm.
I recently met in one of my leadership programs a girl who is a sibling.
Mhm.
She's the oldest of two so it's three
Okay.
of them total, but the other two have disabilities.
Okay.
And so her perspective is just wild
Yeah.
because she's been advocating since a child
Yeah.
for people that she loves.
Yeah.
So listen, nothing is off topic. I feel like everything that we talk about, there is value in it. And again, we don't know who we're reaching, and
Mhm.
and that information prayerfully is gonna reach the person that needs to hear it, because there's still a lot of parents out there that's kind of dealing with it, whether they are new to the diagnosis and then start to realize, oh, it feels like I'm neglecting a little bit
Mhm.
my other children because I've been so focused on the one who's having issues here and there, or challenges is what I'll say.
Yes.
And so I think that's valuable for us to bring. But yeah, so back to
I know.
heart
Sorry.
health aware. No, it's good. Heart health awareness for children with disabilities.
Mhm.
And so tonight is really all about highlighting the journey of advocacy,
Mhm.
lessons, and support. So let's jump right in. And feel free to sip on your wine. And if y'all got some wine at home, sip on your wine and do all
Mhm.
the things, but join in with us. And for sure, drop your questions, your comments in the chat. I have my producer who's gonna check the chat periodically and bring questions to us, and we're happy to answer questions as well. So let's get started by just getting to know Mr. Thomas.
Okay.
So like, tell us what he's like. What makes him Thomas?
So Thomas is 7. He has an August birthday, so really hot birthday. He's 7. He loves to be outside and loves to swing. It's one of his favorite things. And music, loves music, lights. He loves to eat now, which is crazy because he could not eat or drink anything for years when he was a baby.
Wow.
And so he's a happy kid. He loves to jump on any good couches or chairs. So if he's coming to your house, he's going to jump on your couch for sure.
Yeah.
But do you want me to get into his diagnosis?
Yeah,
as well?
go straight into it. That's the next question is,
Yeah.
we want to know all about his diagnosis,
Mhm.
and we really want to know it from your perspective as well.
Yeah.
So like, as his mom,
Mhm.
what was it like, when you got that diagnosis? How did you feel?
Well, that is a day I will not forget ever in my life.
Same.
Ever, ever, ever. So, had a normal pregnancy, everything, no issues at all. He's my first baby. And 2 days after he was born, it was early in the morning. I was still half asleep. The pediatrician came in, said he heard a murmur on Thomas, which is an irregular heart sound. And that, sometimes that happens. It's not a big deal, but we're going to get an echocardiogram, which is an ultrasound of the heart. We're going to get that in an EKG, some other heart tests, and go from there. And I was a nurse before.
That's what I was about to say. Go ahead.
I still have my nurse's license, and
Mhm.
but I don't practice anymore. But since Thomas was born, but I knew that sometimes heart defects could happen, and that they would close. That's about all I knew. All I really knew. I worked with adults. I did not do kids and babies, and so the echo tech came in, and she just was taking a long time, and I just had a feeling. I knew something was off.
Yeah.
I knew it. And then later that day, the neonatologist, the NICU doctor, came down to tell us, he has multiple heart defects.
Goodness.
Multiple. So, from there we went to UAB, and it's been a journey from there. But his defects, it's called double outlet right ventricle with transposition of the great vessels. So basically, both of his large vessels and his arteries are on the right side of his heart, But they're also, instead of being side by side, they're rotated. So they're like up and down. So that makes things a lot more difficult to fix.
Okay.
He also has something called a VSD, which is a hole in the ventricular wall, the bottom of the heart. He doesn't have any lining there at all. It's just completely open. So his blood mixes the oxygenated and deoxygenated.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And he also has something called dextrocardia. So his heart is rotated and flipped inward, and the defects on their own are pretty, are easier to fix, but the position of his heart is what makes it really, really tricky.
Yeah.
And I don't know how far into detail we have time, but he had a lot of complications as things unraveled, had a ton of feeding issues, ended up getting a G-tube in his first heart cath when he was 3 months old. And he coded that night. It scared me.
Oh my gosh.
It was one of the worst nights ever. Another day I will not ever forget. There's several of those that that I'm sure I will talk about. But that landed up a very long, almost 3-month hospital visit. He ended up having his I have that cord. He ended up having his first heart surgery called the Glen, but it failed. And
I didn't know heart surgeries could fail.
Yes.
Well, I feel like you hear those stories, but you don't hear that, let's see. You hear if a heart surgery fails, ultimately that registers to somebody as, oh, they must have died, but he's still here.
He was close. He was very close. So 2 days after his first heart surgery, which by the way was like right before Christmas, our first Christmas as a family was in the hospital. So, that just made it a little extra hard. But and the reason why it failed was his pulmonary artery pressures, which is the pressure of your blood going into the lungs, ended up skyrocketing. It got really high when they did the surgery. And they had the doctor 2 days later said, hey, we got to go back in. Something's not quite right. Let me take a look. Going back in is another open heart surgery. It's not just a little procedure. It's
it's not an x-ray. It's not a take a picture. It's a let's put him back under.
And that day was also very scary. They opened and closed his chest 3 times. That day, they could not figure out what exactly was going on, why it wasn't working. He was on a big machine called ECMO that night, which basically pumps his heart for him. It gives your heart a break. And to spare some details, there was a lot going on with my child that night. And I think he had 3 nurses plus an ECMO tech that was there with him that night. The next morning, they took him for a heart cath, try to see what was wrong. It was the pressures. They found that out then. So they took down the original surgery that they did and put in something else. And then he needed another surgery at 11 months old, which we knew again would be a Band-Aid essentially. And he had to have heart caths like every 4 to 6 months to check his pressures, try to put stents in, reopen the surgeries that they've done. And when he was 4 years old, it was time for another surgery.
Yeah, my goodness. And there's something to be said by the fact that like at the beginning of all of this, you said you had a feeling. That intuition is where I feel like a lot of parents probably live. And it could go one way or the other. You could say, leave them alone, like no, or I think what you did a good job of was just like, okay, well, let's just see what it is and take it step by step. And that's and also like the emotional toll that comes with that. You just gave birth. So you already have all your hormones going around, and so it's just, there's so much more that comes with a diagnosis for a child than just their health diagnosis.
Well, and when, things don't always go as planned. We were hoping he would need 1, maybe 2 surgeries and that's it. But obviously, everybody all the doctors know Thomas on the cardiac floor because he's just very the position of his heart and the pressures of his heart make him very difficult. And at the same time, I didn't mention he used to be a breath holder.
Okay.
Did I tell you that?
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
oh
I remember.
I
remember. I hear it. You know what? When I hear breath holder, I think about like the little cartoons where they're like so angry. It's just like, I'll just hold my breath. But you don't realize that some of those things are like real life and it can happen in real life.
And he would do it all the time. multiple times a day, scared all the nurses in the hospital. And it scared me too, don't get me wrong. But before we went to the hospital for this visit, I didn't have a pulse ox, an oxygen machine. I didn't have a way to check his oxygen. And so I didn't realize how low he was getting. Like, I
Mhm.
had no clue. He would get down to like the teens, and
Ooh.
his heart rate would start dropping. They'd have to call a code again and
Oh
rush
my
him. It was a whole
gosh.
thing.
Yeah.
And he would do it like just because I had to change diaper. Like,
Oh yeah.
he was really moody, and
Mhm.
he just was uncomfortable as a
Mhm.
baby.
Mhm.
I don't want to say moody. He was just very uncomfortable. He was dealing with a
A
lot.
lot. Yeah,
And we
yeah.
didn't know the extent until they kind of got in there for that first surgery.
Yeah.
And it snowballed.
Whew. Well, but honestly, like that's just, what it looks like. In the
Mhm.
beginning, it's like it's panic, it's fear.
Survival mode. It
Yeah.
really is survival
And you
mode.
go into that and it's just like, I hope that,
Mhm.
it works out for the best. And then
Yeah.
even when it does work out for the best, you got to go home
Right.
and you got to go figure out what's next. So
I
that,
mean, you still have your life
yeah,
that you have to
that you
take care of,
plan.
right?
You,
Other kids, your work, whatever. You have your plans, and it all changes.
yeah.
It can change
And a
very
lot of
quickly.
parents, unfortunately, since we're in the US of A, can't say it's great. No shade, but
Shame.
so a little bit shade. But maternity leave is not something
Mm-mm.
that is always a given. And
No.
and sometimes it's
Mm-mm.
given minimally.
Right.
So think about that. If you are at an employer where you get only 6 weeks
Mhm.
and you have a child that's going through the things that you went through,
Yeah.
you said surgery. All I heard was surgery, surgery, surgery. And then again at 11 months. So,
Mhm.
like 11 months out, we're still dealing with the same thing.
Yeah.
And moms have to go back to work.
Right.
They have to either or quit,
Yeah.
to make sure that this child is able to live life,
Right.
thrive.
Which, honestly, even if the surgery went well, even if it went well, I try not to live in the if world at
Mm-hmm.
all. But even
Mm-hmm.
if it did, I still don't know how I would be able to go back to work full time
Yeah.
and do all his just appointments and therapy and just the stuff that he needs to learn how to function.
Basic functions that
Basic functions.
most people don't have to think about, but we have to think about. And
Yeah.
that's crazy. And then think
Yeah.
about like the mothers out there who are single,
I know.
going through this alone. Like, listen, I bow down
Same.
to any mom out there who is walking a journey on her own, still working, has a child with a disability or multiple children. Because,
Yeah.
I talked to a mom in our kids' class who was
Mhm.
like, I really want to be there for the fundraiser, but I can't. I have to go to work.
I know.
I don't really get a lot of time. I got 3 boys. I'm by myself. And so I can't imagine. And like, I feel like people also, just again getting a little off topic, because
Mhm.
you're married, you
Mhm.
automatically have it a little bit easier. It's
Right.
like, no, that's just 2 people that's got to go through
Right.
this.
Which I am very fortunate that I was able to quit my job.
Mm-hmm.
That was never the plan. I never wanted to quit. I always saw myself being a
Going back to
working
work.
mom, always.
Exactly.
But there was no other possibility at the time. And honestly, even now, even with him being my child, just all the doctor's appointments and therapy, like, you would just need such a flexible job,
Mm,
or I would just have to completely rearrange my whole life at
yeah.
this point, but I don't know. I don't know how some people are able to do it.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I take that back. I do know, because it's their kid. And you'll do
Exactly.
what you need to do for your
There is
kid.
so much strength in survival mode,
It
because
really
just like you
is.
said,
It's
it
hard.
takes strength to walk away from a job, to say,
Mhm.
I'm going to give it up so I can make sure he
Right.
gets what he needs. There's strength in the fact that you say, we got to survive and we got to keep going. And what we do as a team is, all right, let's step back. Let's figure out how we're going to do what we
Yeah.
need to make sure he gets what he needs.
Mhm.
And then again, kudos to you moms out there who are doing it alone.
Mhm.
You're doing all of that by yourself. Hopefully with this, some support, something
hope.
in place. Whether you're relying on the resources, which we'll get into that as well.
Mhm.
It's a journey. Oh,
Yes. It
I
really
try
is.
not to go off topic, but it's just so much that we can talk about
It
that
really is.
people really just don't think about, especially when you're talking about the parenting journey, because all of us are essentially doing the same thing, but we got a little bit of a layer added to ours when we have to think about, like you said, basic functions.
Right.
You know, like when we go out with Harper, it's like it's not easy showing up to the basketball game anymore, because I have to unload that wheelchair, put her in it, and then we got to get in there and see what the accessibility looks like. And then there are rules, and you can't sit here, or one parent can sit here, and then you know they're splitting your family up.
Right.
So many different things that we have to think about. And let's not even get into the health side of things, you know. So
going anywhere with kids in general is a lot, but add the disability factor on top of
it just
and
skyrockets.
honestly, it's something that I didn't notice how inaccessible a lot of places are until I had Thomas. I just didn't notice it. I didn't pay attention to that. But now, you know, there's definitely some places, if he's with me, there's no way that
Thomas uses the wheelchair, right?
He does he can walk now. He started walking 2 summers ago. He's doing good, but for distances, and honestly, depending on where I'm going, that boy can be wild in a grocery store, and it's easier to keep him contained a little bit so he doesn't slide everything off the shelves, which he has done more than once. And so he does still have to use it for distances, and he gets tired still. But he's walking a lot, but I just had no clue. I didn't even think to look at. I didn't think to look at stuff like that I do now.
Yeah, same. I know. I think back to before I had Harper, and I was talking to another mom where we were like, you know, before this, I probably was a complete jerk because I never had to think about it. And when I saw it, I did like look over my shoulder, like I feel so bad for them, you know, or you know, I don't know. I can't even say for sure what I thought. I hope that I wasn't as complete of a jerk that I think that most people are when they see us. But man,
I am.
Okay. So we're back. Navigating challenges and finding support is definitely something that we all have walked that walk, whether it doesn't matter how mild your case is or how severe or extreme your disability may be. So, and then with you, managing multiple needs can be overwhelming because like I think the correct term is complex medical. But when you think about what that term means, is there are health issues in addition to whatever the developmental delay may be.
Which I don't even think I mentioned to you guys. We found out that he has a genetic syndrome as well.
Oh, okay.
And so his developmental delays that he has is mainly it's from both for sure, because he was in and out of the hospital that first year a ton of his life. So I'm sure that had an impact. But he has a genetic diagnosis called Kristy and it's another name is 5P minus syndrome. It's a little easier to say. But it's global developmental delays. Most kids walk. Most kids communicate in some form. He uses a talker and his different little vocalizations that he does. But I'll tell you, like, as far as the support group, because they do have a great foundation support group through Kristy Shaw. But it took me a while to be able to get there because I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to reach out for support because I was just trying to deal with it myself. I didn't look at his genetic stuff in detail until it was after a year, I think, because I was like, I just need him to live. I just need his heart. I just need his heart to get healthy.
Multiple things.
I was like, the genetic chromosome disorder isn't going to change. It's going to be there forever and ever. I'll deal with it later. I know there's global developmental delays. I didn't want to talk to other moms. I didn't want to reach out. I feel it's just a process you have to go through. There's a grieving process through it all. It's just because you have to grieve the life that you imagine for your child and for yourself too, and your family. And that changes. And even though it's beautiful in its own way, at the time you're dealing with hormones, you're dealing with all complex medical needs. And like, you know, it's just, you go through a process of everything. So now that I have gone through it and I'm where I obviously able to talk about it, about all of his stuff. And I've met a great group of moms through his genetic syndrome. I've also met a lot of great heart moms too as well. And
Mm-hmm.
there was one heart mom. I doubt she's listening right now. I haven't spoken to her in a while. Her name is Kelsey Bannister. She was one of the first ones to reach out to me and
Okay.
came and visited me in the hospital.
Oh, nice.
And so it's, we still keep in touch. And she was
Mm-hmm.
somebody that I met strictly because I asked a heart question on the
Yeah.
Alabama Facebook group.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. The only
And
reason.
that's what managing, like that's what it looks like,
Mhm.
because again, you pointed out a very strong point. You have to get to that point. I don't
Yes.
want to talk to anybody. And I did the same thing when
Mhm.
I got the diagnosis. And, the first thing people will tell you, join a Facebook group, join.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's not the best. I think I talked about this last time, where
Yeah.
you're going to get the most extreme stories
Right.
that is going to freak you out. And for me, I was just like, there's no way, like,
Yeah.
number one, this would ever happen to me, because I won't let it.
Right.
But number two, like, because I would see some of the moms on there saying that, hey, this happened at school, and it's just
Mhm.
like, and how are you here and not in jail?
I know.
Like,
I know.
it's like, I
Oh
get it,
gosh, the
but
school stuff.
and
I was
we'll get
terrified
there.
about all the school stuff
Yes.
that I read. But support groups are out there. I've
Yes,
met
for
other
sure.
moms like
Yes,
Latoya.
yes,
And
definitely.
I probably met most of the moms through his different therapy
See,
programs,
it's you have to
just
be
by being there and
plugged
seeing them in
in.
the hall
Yep.
or
If
whatever.
you're it, but like, I recommend it, but I don't recommend
Mhm.
going online first, because
Yeah.
that is going to freak you out, especially
Yep.
depending on where you are in accepting
Right.
where you are in your journey. Because just like you said, I was just trying to get through to this point. I didn't want to talk to anybody else. I don't care. I didn't. For
Mhm.
me, I would say I don't care,
Yeah.
because I don't even know like what this looks like, what this.
Right.
So it's just, and then that's for me, it was a level of denial still,
Mhm.
because I was just like, how do we really know?
Well, and
That's
you
what this
had a little
is.
bit of a not late, but she was
Delay,
several
for
months
sure.
old,
Yeah,
correct?
she was
Yeah.
18 months old
Yeah,
when we
I
got
thought
the
so.
official diagnosis,
Right.
but we started missing milestones. But again, the way that it was put to me, because I was just like you, I'm a medical laboratory scientist,
Mhm.
and I'm familiar with a lot of like the diseases or conditions
Mhm.
or lab results that help people get diagnosed.
Right.
So I have to know about the disease, because I have to know what this lab result means.
What it's for.
And so it's just like, but I had that experience,
Mhm.
but not the firsthand experience
Mhm.
of, hey,
It's different when it
when it
flips
flips,
sides.
it's for sure. And so it's just like,
Yeah.
what do you do? And then when you finally say, okay, I'm going to use my background to help me navigate this,
Mhm.
it gets even more scarier, because you're like, okay, because I know what that means, that
Yeah.
you're not saying to me. But I think the main thing that I really like that you pointed out is really when you get plugged into the therapies,
Mhm.
and when you start to meet other people, if you're open to
Right.
conversing with other people during the appointment,
Mhm.
or you may see the same face every now and then. And
Mhm.
I think you and I got connected just because I'm insane, and I reached out to you this
No.
random, like, I think our therapist Marlise said,
Mhm.
I know a mom that's at the school that you're at. I'm gonna ask her if I can, share her contact information. I was like,
Mhm.
I'll call her. And that's
Mhm.
exactly how I did it. But for me, like, but at that point, I was on the search for resources,
Yeah.
because the resources don't just come to you. And I think like that's what
They don't.
it's just so
You have to
hard.
look for stuff or know somebody who has experience,
Yeah.
really. And unless you can research stuff on your own for sure,
Yeah.
but
Oh yeah.
there's
But
a
again,
yeah, but you need the time to do that. You
yeah.
need, to be mentally where you're ready to kind of
Yeah.
do that, because Dr. Google can also be a very dangerous
A
thing.
very dangerous
Very
thing.
dangerous.
So do we have any questions, producer?
No.
So, okay. Okay, well, so we are still kind of talking about support. So just
Yeah.
still talking about how you get plugged in, you meet people, and
Mhm.
when we got our diagnosis, it was during COVID. So we didn't
Yeah.
meet anybody.
Yeah.
We didn't know anybody. And then it was Taylor's mom who was the first mom that I met at
Mhm.
United Ability, because our kids were in the same class. And she then shared, oh yeah, I have a daughter with cerebral palsy. And then I was just like, oh really? Because she was my first live person that
Right.
I've ever spoken with that also had a child
Mhm.
with cerebral palsy.
Mhm.
And so I was so grateful for that interaction. And we really got brought together because her son had a crush on Harper, you know, and he would go home and talk about Harper. So I was grateful for that because,
Yeah.
like, it just kind of, it was like, is it, what's the word? Happenstance? Like, it
Mhm.
was just right place, right
Yeah.
time. It just lined up. And so when you talk about support systems and resources, what are some of the ones that's made the biggest difference for you?
Hmm. That's a good question.
Yeah, it's large. It's a
Yes.
huge question.
I would say the biggest thing I really enjoy the Creative Shaw Mom group that I'm a part of, and it's just on Instagram. I've only met one of the moms. I think there's 10 or 12 moms in the group total. But the because Creative Shaw is so rare,
That's
it's
what I
only
was about to say. It's a rare
yeah, it's
condition,
only
right?
1 in 50,000. So
Woo!
I only know of one other child that lives in the area, and I know that there's an adult in Birmingham.
Oh, nice.
But I've only met another child of the mom group I'm a part of. They just happen to be traveling through town. They live in California,
Oh, okay.
but every summer they travel through town, and we've met with them the past 2 summers.
Nice.
And even though I've met other kids with disabilities, it's the first child that I've met that has his exact diagnosis. And I cannot tell you just how nice it felt because the
Mhm.
similarities between them were so just
Yeah,
the sounds they make. And so I really feel like I personally get the most support from other moms.
I
And
love that.
my mom is super supportive
Yeah.
and helps me the most.
Shout out
So
to you, mom.
shout
Boop,
out. And my
boop.
husband,
Yeah, of course,
of
husbands.
course.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. But moms,
moms give us both a break, which is
yeah,
nice. So I don't know what I would do without
yeah,
her.
definitely.
But I would encourage anybody who doesn't have a support system to reach out. And I think that's kind of what we're trying to do at the
Absolutely.
Wildfire Alliance is be that
Absolutely.
support. So
Yes,
there you
we,
go.
because she's a part of the Wildflower Alliance. If I didn't mention that, she's one of the first parents I asked to be on the parent council.
Mhm.
So, I mean, come on, how it just gets better and better and better. So, okay, so I think that you've already answered this question about moments of joy and
Mhm.
connection amidst the challenges. It's like
Yeah.
you said, you found that the group that
Yeah.
was just life changing, it
Yeah.
sounds like.
And I will say, and I know you know this too, but when they do hit a little, they're not even miles, they're inch stones. Like they do something that they've been working for.
Mhm.
Those moments are just the best.
The
They're the
best.
best,
Oh
and
my gosh,
it
yes.
really makes it. They're worth it in general, but like
Mhm.
when you see those moments, it just really makes the therapy, the time, it makes everything
Everything.
worth it.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
makes it worth it
For
because they're
Harper,
proud too. Like he's always
yeah,
proud too when he
excited.
does something.
When we did that
Mhm.
intensive was intense.
I bet.
Not just for Harper,
We've
for
never
me.
done one.
Really? Oh my
Mm-mm.
gosh, it is intense. And but the thing is they do well
Yeah.
because the therapists do a really good job of making it play, making
Mhm.
it fun, but
That's
it's
good.
work.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of Harper's intensive, she could only go about 72 feet in
Yeah.
6 minutes. And at the end of it, literally 3 weeks, it was 203 feet.
Oh,
So
good
producer, I
job.
couldn't read that, so you might have to hold that up again. But yeah, those moments are phenomenal. Like I literally told people when she starts walking independently and I'm still gonna do it, we're gonna have a house party.
Yep.
Like back in
Do
the
it.
day, everybody dress up,
Yep.
we playing loud music, like they're gonna call the police on us because
Yep.
and when the police get here, they'll probably join the party because
Mhm.
like that's how hard we've worked for this
Mhm.
one milestone.
Right.
And so milestones definitely are a huge,
Mhm.
huge thing over here for us
Mhm.
because I mean we party hard. Peace or Sprite for everybody. So
All the good stuff.
yeah. So okay, my producer said to move on. So let's get a little bit into advocacy and the lessons that you learned,
Mhm.
over your journey. So what does advocating for Thomas's medical needs look like for you?
So that started very early, like within the first couple of days, because of my nursing background. We were not at the best hospital for him at the time because I delivered. We didn't think anything was wrong. It's just not one of the high intensive hospitals in town.
Yeah.
And they were great. The nurses were great. No problems with the nurses, the doctors. I just felt like they didn't quite know how to take care of him because I was noticing a lot of heart rhythm changes.
Okay.
And his beats were looking funny, and stuff just looked funny on his heart rhythm, his EKG. And I would ask him questions, and they couldn't answer them. So he ended up getting transferred someplace else. But like, it took me I finally just was like, we've got to go someplace else after 5 days. And it's not that they weren't getting good care. It's just they couldn't answer my questions.
Yeah.
They couldn't explain anything to me. And they were just calling the children's hospital in town to be like, okay, well, what do we need to do? And they were gonna let us go home and watch him and just follow up with cardiology. And I was like, no, we are not leaving a hospital until somebody can explain what is happening to my child.
And the good thing is, like you said, you had that background.
Yes.
But what would you recommend for like someone who may not have that background? I think that's where the intuition kind of comes in, right?
Well, intuition, and I really, really encourage anybody to ask questions. If you do not know, ask questions. I kept a notebook too. Very, very early on, I would print out I kept a notebook with his different doctors that he was seeing, like a binder, and I separated it by doctors, and I would get I'd write questions in there so I wouldn't forget when I went to the doctor's appointments. I'd ask questions there too. And even just like on the long hospital days, because it's just draining. You forget what happens day to day. And I can be very analytical. Sometimes.
You have to be for these kids.
Yeah. And so I would, I was right there every time the doctors would come around. I'd ask them questions. I'd write my questions down in my little notebook and I'd ask them. And not that I had to wait until that time, but I did, when they rounded. But ask questions. If you don't know, ask. And don't let anybody make you feel rushed or that you are taking up too much of their time. Because if they are acting that way, then ask if you can schedule another appointment to speak to them about whatever matter later if you don't get your answers. Because it is important that you understand what's going on with your child. But for me, keeping notes of things really helped because I wasn't in the best mental headspace. I was very tired. He never slept ever and wasn't eating, dealing with all the stuff. Like I would forget sometimes, well, what did I already ask him that? What did he say? And so that's what helped me personally, just writing everything down.
Yeah.
Asking questions. And I could tell sometimes I felt like I was probably a little pestering, but whatever. You just got to do what you got to do.
That's advocacy.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. And that was just not only in the hospital setting, like even doctor's offices and stuff. Like, right. If you have questions, either, write them down or, call the nurse ahead of time.
Yeah.
And just you really have to voice your questions.
For sure. Absolutely.
A lot of doctors don't explain things very well and or they don't use language that everybody can understand.
Right. So could you share then a time where you had to push for better care or make a tough decision about his treatment?
Well, that one time that I mentioned already, like I used to work at the place that I was. And like I said, again, all the nurses were great, but I had a problem with them having to keep calling the children's hospital when I felt like I was noticing differences in his pattern. So I had to tell them, like, I'm going to call like the house supervisor if you don't get us to a children's hospital. And, luckily because if he didn't have one of the defects, he would have needed immediate surgery. And we were not at the right place for that at all. And so that was the first time, 5 days old, and that I did that. But there was a time within the past couple of years, it wasn't even a medical thing. It was I was trying to get him swim lessons. Did I tell you about this?
Oh yeah, I remember. And it's the most popular place in town, and
Yes.
everybody's like, go, go,
I
go.
won't say any names,
Right.
but
Same. Because we're still trying to build
yes,
relationships.
yes, yes. But it is a popular place, great place if you can go there. But apparently, they have a lot of qualifications for you to go there that are not listed on their website, nor do a lot of people understand or know that. And he was denied swim lessons there because he was too cognitively delayed. That's what I was told. And this is a place who is for people with disabilities
Yeah.
that I thought would be like another place for him as he got older. You know, there's not that many places, so I was really excited about that. And then I was like, okay, well, you know, I can try to figure that out. But we were also denied going to the family camp,
Yeah.
where my husband and I would all be there taking care of him. They wouldn't have to do anything, but we were denied. And so I actually went to the CEO and spoke to him about it. Not sure if anything has happened.
Yeah. It didn't
honestly,
sound like it.
but I told him what I felt needed to
Mhm.
be changed, and I had all my paperwork that I brought with me with all my
Advocacy.
resources that I had, and
Uh-huh.
I did feel like it went well, but whether or not things will change, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But
What?
that's not a place that I want to push him to go to, so I
Yeah.
never followed up.
What I like what you're highlighting about what advocacy looks like in the community, even for people who say that they're for people with disabilities, and in the hospitals. Go back to when you said that I worked there, I knew what the procedure was. Can you share with people how to advocate when they're not getting, I guess like the acknowledgement,
Yeah.
or they're getting brushed off? And you said, because you specifically said, if you keep calling them,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to call the house supervisor. Most people don't even know what the structure looks like.
If you don't agree with your care, I will say I do not recommend ever leaving AMA or against medical advice, because even if you're really mad, you're going to get charged with that whole hospital bill. Insurance won't pay for it. So even if you're mad, please don't leave. Try to work it out.
That's good. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you're going to get charged with the bill. Insurance will not pay if you leave AMA. At least ours will not. I would assume that it was the same for everybody.
Most likely.
Ours is not, insurance. But if you're not getting the care that you need, reach for a supervisor, whether that be the office manager of an office. It is temperamental, or I don't know if that's not the right word. You want to go. I'm trying to think how to word it. If it's somebody that you're going to be with for a long time, you don't want to make waves, right? Like, you want to go about it in the most appropriate way, but you also need to do what's best for your child. So that might mean seeking a different doctor and a second opinion. And if you have concerns, I do suggest seeking a second opinion always. Because, there's only so many places in Birmingham, but there's a lot of other great hospitals not that far from here.
Right.
That you could also get a second opinion on, or just see another group.
Right.
But I would always go to somebody higher up.
Yeah.
If you need
Absolutely.
to.
Ask
Don't
for
be
'em.
afraid to do it if you need
to. That's the thing. I think a lot of people have that anxiety of, like you said, you should make waves. It's for this child who cannot speak for themselves.
Right.
And your intuition is most of the time always right. Like,
And
seriously.
doctors are not always right. And neither are nurses. They're human too. So if you have ask if you have a question. That's the biggest. Use your voice, because your child cannot.
Right.
And make sure you understand what is going on and what your child is going through, because that's important. You need to know what's going on.
Yeah. So I think that you have already took us into this topic, which was where we're shifting into talking about awareness and looking forward to the future, because I feel like what we as parents of children with disabilities that are young have no idea what our future is going to look like, but it's very helpful when we see people further down the road
Mhm.
in their disability, and it's like this is what it could look like, you
Mhm.
know, and we know the work we're putting in, so it's just
Right.
like it could get there.
Right.
And so you've already really talked about like the intersection between his heart health and his
Mhm.
disabilities with the genetic condition, and you know, then of course you know, the physical heart defects that they
Mhm.
discovered once he got here.
Right.
So then what would you share with schools or communities about supporting families that look like ours?
The biggest thing I think for schools and for schools is the communication.
Oh,
I would say
yes.
communication is a big, which I think our school does a really good job. I
Phenomenal.
love our school.
Shout out Mount
I
Laurel.
know they're
We
the
love
best.
you.
They're the best. But no complaints. No complaints.
Right.
They're awesome. But I know that doesn't always happen.
Right.
It doesn't. I think it happens a lot. And because our kids they can't come home and tell me about the day. They
Yes.
can't tell me what happened. They can't tell me if they were mad, upset, anything like that. So we have to rely on the teachers. And thank goodness we have some great teachers. But I would think communication in the school setting is super important. And then you said in the community as well, as far as like
churches, I mean grocery store managers who can also advocate like
yeah.
from internally, like
Yeah.
what.
I would just say, as far as advocating for church, just to be a support for that family.
Oh
And I
yeah.
know some churches do like a respite
Oh
night.
yeah.
I've heard about that, or they have some churches that do take special needs children, which is always nice because that does
Yeah.
not
Because
happen.
we are left out. Yes.
Yep. And if you have a G tube, I can tell you,
Oh
like
yeah.
Thomas, no place will take you unless you're like certified, really certified, because it's scary to a lot of people. It's not scary, but
Yeah, it's
it is,
not.
I guess, if you don't know.
Yeah.
And so I would just encourage them to, especially churches, because you're gonna get to know them, your church
Quickly.
family.
Yeah.
And so just to reach out
Yeah.
and just
Just
say, "Hey, I'm
try.
here.
Yeah.
I'm here." And also know that for a while whoever needs the support may not be receptive to it at first, because
Yeah.
again, they got to go through your
Yeah.
process of
You don't know
grieving
where
and
they are in their
talking and
process.
right. Like it really, all the moms I've taught you go through a process. So I
Mhm.
would just say just to be there for them, listen to them, support them, give them some food.
Yeah,
They're
exactly. Because
hungry.
food is
They don't have
good.
time
We
to
love
eat.
food.
Yeah.
So, what are your hopes for Thomas's future, and what would you like to see change in how families are supported?
So I just want Thomas to be healthy, to
Yeah.
stay. It's hard to stay healthy as long as it can. Hopefully, he won't need another surgery. But that's what worries me the most.
Yeah.
Every appointment, like we just had an appointment a few weeks ago, and it was fine. But every time I go, I'm like, ugh. Is something
Yeah. That
gonna
anxiety
change? Or
returns.
and
Yeah.
I thought it would get better with time. It doesn't for
Yeah.
me. Every time I go to the hospital, I feel the same way.
Same.
Same way. But I would just just having other moms like you and other people that I can talk to now, and just honestly, my mom giving us a break, and just doing my own little. I've started trying to do stuff for myself a little bit more, and that has helped. That
Yeah.
has helped because just as a parent in general, you do everything for your kids. You
Right.
forget about yourself. But I do feel like it is important for all disability parents to try to do
Something for
something for
themselves. Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
Something for yourself, because it's constant every other time.
It's like your head is down and you're working,
Yeah.
and then before you know it, it's like 2-3 years
I
have passed,
know.
and you're like, oh, I hadn't had a break.
I know. Well,
Yeah.
and it's just like that hypervigilance all the time.
Yeah,
Of
for
like
sure.
watching them, or what are they doing? And
Yeah.
or trying to work on a new skill. It's just always, there's always a
Constant.
checklist of something to do.
Yeah.
Always that they could be working on, or that you need to do. Whether
Yeah.
that be working with insurance,
Oh
or
my
trying to
goodness.
get some equipment, or scheduling another appointment. Like it's literally, and it seems endless some
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
And that's even now with him
Yeah.
healthier than he was. So way healthier than he
Yeah.
was.
Oh my gosh. I just resonate with so many things that you said, but my producer is he'll give me the eyebrow
Oh.
when I come back. So look, see, it's happening right now. So I'm gonna keep us moving forward because we're almost at the end, and I feel like we can really like then freestyle.
Yeah.
But what are so like practical tips and resources? I think you did a really good job of kind of highlighting some of the resources like on the internet, you
Mhm.
know. But for other parents out there where they may have a complex medical need, you know, who are some of the vendors, you know, like where are some places that you can go, or what's some advice that you could give to those parents where they're feeling overwhelmed
Yeah.
and, you know, by the just the cost
Yeah.
of the things
Everything.
that we have to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I do want to say, as far as the internet, you definitely internet's great, but it can be scary. So if you're
Yes.
looking up stuff, go to the main foundation website. Don't
Okay.
look at all these random articles and stuff you find. Go, like, if it's Down syndrome with cerebral, go to the Down Syndrome of America website,
Mm-hmm.
Cerebral Palsy of, I think it's North America website.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the place if you're going to look. But then there's also lots of, like in Birmingham,
Oh yeah.
there's United Ability,
Mm.
which is where we
Woo
met.
woo. United Ability, we love you.
Yeah, they have a preschool program there
Uh-huh.
that Harper attended. Thomas
Yes.
wasn't able to get in because it was COVID,
Yeah,
and
COVID. And it was dangerous,
yep,
but still
yep,
like available.
yeah.
Yeah.
And but they have outpatient therapy, and
Oh,
that's
everything.
where we've been going for outpatient therapy since he was little. But there's early intervention center in town as well called the Bell Center that Thomas went to. Amazing. We used to
I heard
know
about
Miss
them.
Betty Bell herself, and she just
Uh,
loved Thomas.
I
And
love it.
I honestly never wanted to leave there. It was amazing. But they age out at 3 for early
Mhm.
intervention, so he graduated. And then different foundations in town. We are one. Wildflower Alliance.
Absolutely, we
We're
are.
one. And but also Libby's Friends is
Oh yeah,
amazing.
amazing. I love Lane.
Yes,
Oh my gosh,
Hagen
yes.
family, they are awesome. So we have gotten what Libby's Friends does, they help with a lot of different cost things. It could be equipment. I've heard about them paying for gas mileage for, I think, a little boy that had to go to Tennessee for
Mhm.
vision. This stuff
Oh,
I saw
okay. Okay.
before, but they do a lot of, I think it's mainly equipment, but they do
Mhm.
help
Grants.
grants. Yeah, they
Yeah.
help with cost needs. And so they've helped get him something called a tomato seat. It's like a chair for him to eat at.
Oh, nice.
They helped get him his original like bed tent thing that he had. He has to have an enclosed bed because
Mhm.
he's a wild man at nighttime for several hours every
Mm.
night.
Mhm.
And so they helped get that. And we're actually, I'm going to see, they can only do one thing a year,
Yeah.
but they can do one thing a year, which is
Yeah, and you
amazing.
can decide what that thing is. Yeah.
Right. And then they're working on getting us something now for his talker. It's
Oh, I
like this
love
suction
it.
cup thing that'll basically like
Oh.
lock it to a surface.
Oh,
'Cause he likes to
nice.
throw it, and that's it's gonna
Nice.
break it.
I love that. And let me shout out one more organization, XVI. That's my
Mhm.
girl. We
Oh,
went to high school together,
I didn't know
and
that.
she was literally the very first person that I approached with. She's the very first person that I approached when I was just like, I cannot
Mhm.
talk about it. And she was like, and you don't have to.
Yeah.
And she was just that fierce, you know, she was an advocate before I knew what an advocate
Yeah.
was. And then like now, like following her journey still to this day, and then seeing the families that kind of like you know, like say like this is the things that they've done for us. XVI is amazing. I've loved them. I've always loved them. I've loved her since high school. I've loved her husband, and now I
Mhm.
love Zandy, you know, just because I just have to, because they are an amazing family
Yeah.
as well, and they do some really great things in the
We
community.
went to
Oh,
the
The
event. Yeah, I
Christmas.
didn't
Yeah, I
realize
didn't get
y'all
to
knew
go
each
this
other like that
year.
though. It
Oh
was
yeah, we go
cute.
back. We go back to when she was a cheerleader and I played basketball. So
See?
yeah,
Yeah, I didn't know
but yeah,
that.
XVI is definitely one of the another
Mhm.
organization that I truly like push out for people, because I just feel like it's just so much that people just don't know.
Mhm.
So yeah, I just resources, you
Yep.
just don't know, which is what we're working on.
Yes.
Our resource guide is coming, y'all.
And there's a lot of stuff out there, way more than what we've named. Like,
Yes.
I learned about a ton when I was doing my research for this that I had no clue.
Yeah.
Literally had no clue. And so I think that there's a lot of stuff out there. You just have to know
Where to look.
where to
Yeah,
look.
and it takes a really long time for you to
Mhm.
really like discover it for
Mhm.
sure. So are there any specific tools, or you named some organizations with
Mhm.
like Libby's Friends and United Ability,
Mhm.
and then I threw out XVI. Woo woo. That is there any other organizations that you could like point out for parents of children with medical,
Yes.
like complex
And I
medical
can't
needs.
believe I almost forgot child rehab services.
Oh goodness.
Oh, they're like, you got to get in child rehab. They have a
Yes.
clinic called the Neuromotor Clinic. And I just think we only go yearly at this point, but it's amazing. They have the doctor, they have a speech therapist, PT, they have
Yep.
I'm blanking out on the company that does the braces.
Is it biotech?
Biotech. They
Okay.
have a biotech there to fit if they need braces. So that's saving you time. And there's a
Yes.
nutritionist there too. I feel like there's somebody else. So you see a whole team of people.
Mhm.
It's very a holistic care. And if you need to be referred, they'll refer you out.
Yeah.
And so they just help so much. And if you what helped us before we got on the Medicaid waiver, we just had primary insurance. They help with any additional coverage if you, especially if you have primary insurance,
Mm.
private insurance, that they help with any additional cost coverage,
Yes.
which is huge
Yes.
because it's huge. Everything adds up. And we got like his first basic talker from there, his walker, his wheelchair. Because they have other they call them clinics, but
Yeah.
they have like the neuromotor clinic, which is the more holistic. I know they have like a PT clinic, speech
Seating,
clinic,
like for
yeah,
kids that need to
that's
be
what it's
in
called,
wheelchairs.
seating clinic.
Yeah.
Seating is like the PT clinic. They do
Okay.
like equipment. That's what I was thinking of, but it's
Mm-hmm.
seating. And then I know
Gotcha.
they have a speech clinic,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they
Oh
have
yeah.
more. Those are just the 3 that we've been to.
Yeah.
But I think it would be so helpful for someone who maybe doesn't understand things as much because everyone's there. You
Yeah.
can talk to everybody. There's a case manager that you're
Yeah,
assigned
that's what I was
to
about to say. The
that helps
coordinators, they
you.
are amazing, and they check
Yes,
in
they
monthly.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're great.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I waited a while to go because I was just overwhelmed with everything else.
Yep.
And it does take a little bit of time for an appointment. So if you're thinking about it, call them. Go ahead and get on the list. So it might be a month or so.
Yeah.
But or if not, might be longer than that.
Yeah.
But they're just great, and it's they're very well informed there. They know a lot of resources there as well, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's a good place to start out if you're kind of wondering where to start out.
Yeah,
I think they're great.
definitely. I love everything that you say, and I'm trying not to weigh in as heavy, but I mean, it's
It's
just
hard to not get off
it's hard. It is because it's just like, yeah, because that was me. Like I did the
Mhm.
same thing. And the journey can be like that. And I'm not saying the journey will be easy, but the load gets a little bit lighter when you know that there are organizations out there who are going to support you, who
Mhm.
know what you're going through or what you've been through, and they
Mhm.
want to help to advocate with you.
Right.
They want to offer opportunities, technologies.
Right.
That's the CRS is how we got introduced to. Well, we had a speech therapist that introduced us to an AAC, but
Okay.
CRS really
Yeah.
helped
Same.
drive the process.
Yeah.
With us acquiring one,
Mhm.
and then XVI whoop, whoop, came through for us. So yeah, like it's just the resources I'm telling you, the ones that are available here that have just touched my life,
Mhm.
your life.
Yeah.
Like it's just it could be so helpful in
Yeah.
ways that you get to breathe a
Mhm.
little bit.
Well, and I'll say too, like, things are hard in the beginning. It just is,
Yeah,
and you're gonna have hard moments throughout. And but like you will get stronger too,
absolutely.
and you'll gain your confidence in being like able to talk to doctors more openly or able to voice your opinions more openly to them or
Hmm.
to your child's therapist or whatever. You're gonna gain that confidence too.
Yeah, and you
And
know
it
what?
might take time, but you will.
I
It's
heard
just part of
somebody
the process.
say it like this.
Mhm.
They are the experts in medicine.
Mhm.
You're always the expert in your
Yeah.
child. And so, like, we're a team.
Mhm.
Let's put it together and
Yeah.
then we can get the best for this baby
Mhm.
because you know what you know, I know what I know.
Right.
And respect me as such. It's called
Right.
a family-centered care.
Yes.
That's the correct term. I just learned that one.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's amazing. And I
Yeah.
think that so in getting into the resilience and the hope and the encouragement, I think
Mhm.
that you've offered that
Mhm.
with saying you will find your strength. That's one thing that I know that a lot of parents, you're going to lose sight of that. It's
Mhm.
okay. Lose sight, feel it wherever you are in your
Mhm.
journey. Be present in that moment, but
Mhm.
know that you're going to come out of that and there's going to be something else that's on the other side,
Right.
something better that's on the other side. So what's some moments of resilience or strength that stand out to you on your journey?
Um, gosh, I don't know. It's, you really do. You go through so many emotions, so many emotions, just as a special needs parent. But I would say just being able to come through all of his heart stuff, and I don't know, just as he was coming off the feeding pump and coming off the medicines and coming off the oxygen, it's like, okay, I can see this getting a little bit better. And then it's like,
Mhm.
I don't even know when it happened. I don't even remember. But, you know, I just one day it's like, okay, yeah, this is fine.
I love
This is
that.
fine. And I can do this. It's
Yeah.
good. We're good. But it takes a while to get yourself there.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that answered your question
Yes,
very.
absolutely. I mean, it answers it from where your perspective, from
Yeah.
in your journey, like
Yeah.
that's where you started to say, okay, I could do this. And
Yeah.
you started kind of gaining that second win.
Yeah. And I will
So,
say too, when little brother came along, things got really hectic.
oh,
And so I feel like it's crazy as those times were. And I sometimes feel like I don't even remember when he was little because it was so busy. Like I
mhm,
don't even remember. But like seeing him with Thomas, you see those moments of hope and you
yeah,
really, really hold on to them.
yeah, you
At
do.
least I did.
Yeah,
I did. And any little thing, that looked good because it was like bad news after bad news
yeah,
for
yeah,
like a year,
yeah.
a year. And so any little thing that was good, just hold on to it.
Yeah, absolutely, as you should.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to get you through,
Hmm.
to the next time. So I think that hopefully we've covered a lot and we have given some advice and information that's useful to any of you parents out there who are watching and our supporters. I hope that you were able to learn something about Kristy's journey, about Thomas's journey, about how the impact that we're having on the community and how it can be improved. I think that's
Hmm.
the main thing that I mean, that's what advocacy looks like in the community.
Hmm.
These are ways that it could be better, or these are ways that we could be accepted and feel accepted.
Yeah.
So let's wrap this up. Last thing is, if you could offer one piece of encouragement or advice to parents walking a similar path, what would you say?
I think I would say just don't give up. Just don't give up because you're gonna have the days where you want to,
Yep.
where you're gonna feel like I cannot do this. I can't. That's when you just like go to the bathroom, cry for a minute, do what you got to do, go scream, do what you have to do for yourself, and then go back and cuddle and snuggle your child, and you will feel a lot better because the days are going to seem hard. It's going to be hard, but it is so worth it.
Yeah.
Your child is worth it. You are worth it. So just try to get through whatever it is that you're going through and know that there is some hope on the outside of there.
Yes.
Somewhere it's there. And it might take a year or so to get there, but it does get there. And so
Yes.
that's where the support comes
Yes,
in.
absolutely.
And if you don't have that support, then I encourage you to try to reach out to us.
There is a community for you.
Yes,
We
there's
are
a community, there's
here.
community out there.
Yes.
And it might take a little while to find it, but sometimes it might start through your doctors. Like I felt like I
Yeah.
was like friends with this pediatrician. I still
Mhm.
have her on speed dial, I
Yeah.
feel like. But I she opened up doors to like go to this therapy center. And I'm still friends with this therapist that we used to
Mhm.
see. But like you just meet people who get it and you hold on to
Right,
them. You
exactly.
just hold on to once you meet them. And it might take a while to do that. And so,
Mhm.
if that means reaching out online and you feel comfortable to do that, do that. Just make sure you're going to the right places.
Yeah, that's the truth. That is the
Yeah.
absolute truth. So,
Don't just read some random article online. I'll tell
please
you
stay
that.
away from Dr. Google because
Yeah.
they are not. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. I hope that you were able to learn something. I hope that you were able to hear some stories of resilience, encouragement, hope. Know that we're not out here dreading our lives as moms of children with disabilities. We actually love where we are. And so, I mean, it just makes you so much better, I
Yeah.
think. I thank you for joining us. Please remember that we have our TWA fundraiser, Top Golf, coming up in March. If you're a parent who's interested in connecting with us, please reach out. Please let us know that you want to be involved in some way. I mean, we are out here trying to make some moves and make it better for other parents, because we know that, we can do that. I don't know. What else should I say? I don't know. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining. And we'll see y'all on the next TWA Talks.
Bye.
Bye.